The story begins as the hero's party arrives at the Demon King's castle, but they run into a demon named Yoki, who tells them they need to defeat him in order to go any further. The party's mage Makana summons her fireball to attack him, but he easily destroys it and mocks her since her magic was weak. The party's warrior charges at him head-on, but Yoki dodges his attacks and kicks him away. The priestess Cecilia uses her support magic to buff the hero Yuga, who attacks with his holy sword, but Yoki overpowers him with his dark magic, which knocks everyone down. As they pass out, Yoki notices Cecilia, and he's surprised by how cute she is, but his subordinates suddenly appear behind him. They wonder why he was staring at her, so he explains that he was just thinking about what to do next, and tells them to take the party to the nearest human village. In the next month, the hero's party challenges Yoki 13 times, but they always end up losing, so one of the demons thinks they must be weak. The Demon King wonders why Yoki doesn't eliminate them, so he explains it's because they aren't worth killing. But the Demon King notes that he'll have his subordinates do it instead, and he knows they aren't strong enough to defeat the heroes, so he assures the Demon King he'll get it done. Yoki knows that the heroes are strong enough to defeat the Demon King, but they can't get past him since he's OP, and he thinks he needs to kill them the next time he sees them. The hero's party challenges Yoki once again, and Yuga and Raven try to cut him down, but he blocks their attacks and sends them flying. Makana manages to hit him with her fireballs, but it has no effect, and he tells them that they'll never defeat him. Cecilia buffs Yuga, who charges in with his holy sword, and his attack creates a massive explosion, but Yoki still blocks it like it's nothing. Yuga notes that they need to get past him, since their goal is to eliminate the Demon King, and Yoki offers to let them pass if they leave Cecilia behind. Yuga refuses his offer, but Makana thinks they should accept the deal, since saving the world is more important than Cecilia's life, and she tells them to go without her. After they leave, she attacks Yoki with her holy laser, but he blocks it and tells her he just wants to talk. He suddenly asks her out on a date, but she rejects him, since she thinks he's just trying to trick her into letting her guard down. But she notices he isn't fighting back, and he mentions that he doesn't care about anything since she rejected him. He notes that even if he wins, he will be confined to that room forever, and the only time he's allowed to leave is when they go to attack humans, but he doesn't like doing that. She refuses to believe him, because she thinks all demons are heartless, but he reveals that he was actually reincarnated from another world, and he's a human on the inside. He knows he's strong enough to defeat the Demon King, but he doesn't want to take over the throne, so he just sticks to his boring life. He notes that it's only been a month since he met her, but falling in love with her is the best thing that's ever happened to him, and his feelings for her make him feel alive. She tells him he doesn't need to stick to his boring life, and invites him to the outside world, because she thinks he should use his powers to help others. The Demon King ends up being defeated, and the king announces a 3-day holiday to celebrate the end of the war. Yoki removes his horn, and he heads to the Adventurers Guild in the capital, where he signs up to become an adventurer. The receptionist Kramen gives him his guild card, and notes that he'll start at F rank. He tells Yoki to make sure he doesn't lose it, and explains that everyone else will be on holiday for the next 3 days, so he doesn't want to be stuck with reissuing the card. Yoki spends the day doing quests, and thinks he needs to become a successful adventurer so that he can end up with Cecilia. Yoki returns to the guild to accept new quests, but Kramen is annoyed that he only comes to him instead of going to the other receptionists. He wonders who Yoki really is, because a normal adventurer isn't able to reach D rank in just a week, but he doesn't care since he knows that Yoki isn't cheating. Cecilia arrives at the guild, which surprises Yoki, and she cancels the quest he was about to take on. She takes him to her house, where the guards start to question him since they find him suspicious, but she tells them to leave him alone since he's her friend. She tells him to leave the guild, and explains that even though they've defeated the Demon King, the other demons won't disappear, and the human nations are about to fight each other for supremacy. She mentions that Yuga has been getting marriage offers from several nations, because they plan to use him as a pawn in their war, and she tells Yoki that if he reaches the S rank, they will try to recruit him as well. She's worried that he might accidentally use his demon powers, which will make everyone see them as the enemy, and she thinks they might even use him to conquer the world. He explains that he needs to make a living to cover his expenses, so she tells him she would gladly hire him, but she doesn't have the funds to pay an S-ranked adventurer. He tells her it doesn't matter who tries to marry him, because he only has eyes for her, so she realizes she was worried for nothing, and tells him he can stay at the guild. They're interrupted by Cecilia's mother Aqua, who apologizes for the way the guards treated Yoki, and she orders the headmaid Sophia to teach them a lesson. He thinks Sophia will just scold them, but she asks Aqua how many bones she should break, so he realizes she's dangerous. After that, Aqua reveals that Cecilia has also received marriage offers, and notes that Yuga was one of them, which makes Yoki jealous, but she reveals that she rejected them all. Aqua realizes he's also in love with her, so she tells him to marry Cecilia, but he notes that she already rejected him, which is why he plans to ask her again once he becomes a successful adventurer. He apologizes to Aqua, but she reveals that she was just testing him, and notes that he passed with flying colors. Yoki goes on a quest, where a monster attacks him with its laser eyes, but he dodges it and easily destroys it with his lightning. He gathers its feathers and prepares to leave, but he's suddenly attacked by his subordinates from when he was a demon. They're surprised to see him there, and one of them, named Duke, asks him where he's been, while the fairy Sheik notes that Duke has been worried about him. He tells them he's now a human adventurer, which surprises them, and he tells them to live their life as they please, but they decide to stay with him. He explains that it won't be easy, since they'll need to disguise themselves, but they're confident they can do it, and tell him they want to see the girl that he's fallen for. Yoki takes them to meet Cecilia, but he's scolded for removing the wings of his subordinate Happy, since she thinks it was cruel, and he apologizes for what he did. He's surprised by how much Duke is talking with Cecilia, because he barely spoke in the past, so he explains it's because he didn't like him in the past. Because he was a shut-in who never did anything, even when their superior ordered them to kill humans. Duke tried to make him leave by force, but Yoki turned the tables on him and turned him into the kind of person he is now. Everyone notices that Sheik and Happy are with them, so they go to look for them, but they find Sheik sleeping on Aqua's lap. She mentions that Sophia took Happy to the house, and as they go after her, they see that Sophia has turned her into a maid. Cecilia notes that she's Yoki's friend, so Sophia apologizes since she thought she was a new maid, and Yoki tells her to change, but she actually wants to work as a maid. As they prepare to leave, Aqua tells Yoki that Cecilia hasn't had any time to rest for a while, but she will make sure Cecilia has a day off so that he can go out with her. The next day, Yoki meets up with Cecilia, and he's amazed by how cute she looks. He praises her glasses, but she explains that she wore it as a disguise, so that people won't recognize her as a member of the hero's party. They enjoy their time together, but Yuga notices them, and he prepares to call Cecilia, but Mikana stops him, telling him the people will recognize them if he calls her. She notices them, so Yuga tells her they've taken the day off to have fun, and he invites her to join them, but she explains that she's with Yoki. Yuga wonders if they've met before, and Yoki assures him they haven't. But Yuga grabs her and takes her to a store, telling Yoki he can come with them. Mikana wishes him luck on his date with Cecilia, and notes that if things go well between them, Yuga might stop going after Cecilia, but she doesn't have much hope for him since he looks mid. Yoki offers to buy a gift for Cecilia, but Yuga interrupts them, because he doesn't want them to get close to each other. Yoki picks up a necklace for her, but Yuga buys the most expensive item in the shop, and tries to put it in her hair. He accidentally removes her glasses, so everyone realizes who she is, and they get swarmed by fans. They all blame Yuga for the situation, and they immediately run away, but Yoki gets left behind. As he looks for Cecilia, he runs into Raven, who's also being bothered by people, so he distracts them by telling them Yuga is nearby. He takes Raven away, and as they hide in an alley, he tells Raven to wear a disguise next time. He prepares to leave, but Raven stops him, and he's surprised because Raven has a feminine voice. He realizes it's the reason why Raven doesn't talk in public, and he can't believe Yoki didn't laugh at his voice, so he asks him to become his friend. Meanwhile, Cecilia runs into a kid, who cries because he hurt his knee, so she heals him, but he continues to cry since he's lost. Yoki arrives and tells him to stop crying, because he will find his mother, and Cecilia scolds him for being an edgelord, but it makes the kid laugh. We see Yuga as he looks for Cecilia, and Mikana tells him they should just go back. He manages to find her, and he sees her and Yoki giving the kid to her mother, but he realizes that Mikana has already left him. The next day, Aqua tells Yoki that Cecilia collapsed yesterday, and he thinks it's his fault, but she explains that Yuga is the one to blame. She notes that after he dragged Cecilia into the chaos, he came to their house and wanted to take care of her, but Sophia sent him away. Sophia takes Yoki to Cecilia's room, and he apologizes for ruining her day off, but she notes that he should make it up to her by going out with her again, which makes him happy. He starts to talk like when he was a demon captain, so she starts to laugh, but it makes her cough. Sophia thinks he's worsening Cecilia's condition, so she throws him out and thanks him for his visit. He prepares to leave, but he runs into Raven, who asks for his advice about a girl he likes, so Yoki tells him to believe in himself and make his move. He thanks Yoki for the advice and decides to confess his feelings, but he walks towards Cecilia's house, so Yoki wonders if he also likes her. Yoki starts to lose his mind, but Raven comes out depressed because he was rejected by the girl he likes. Yoki asks Sophia about him, so she notes that he came to see Happy, which makes Yoki realize she's the girl he likes. He asks Happy about Raven, but she tells him it's impossible and leaves, and he has no idea what she meant. At night, Yoki tells Sheik and Duke about the situation, and Duke thinks Happy isn't thrilled that a human likes her, because they usually go after her kind to make them slaves. He reveals that he joined the Demon King's army after he saved her from a group of humans, but Sheik doesn't think she hates them, because she volunteered to work as a maid. The next day, Yoki heads to the guild, but he doesn't see Crayman anywhere, so a receptionist tells him that Crayman is the vice guildmaster. He wonders where Crayman is, and she reveals that he's in the hospital, so Yoki goes to see him. Yoki wonders what happened to him, so he reveals that on his anniversary, he spent too much time thinking about what to buy for his wife. He missed his chance to buy anything for her in the end, and he was also home late for dinner, so his wife thought he had forgotten about their anniversary and beat him up. Yoki offers to heal his injuries, but Crayman stops him because he'll use the chance to make his wife nurse him back to health. Sophia arrives at the hospital, and Yoki realizes she's Crayman's wife, but she suddenly kicks him in the head. She thanks Yoki for visiting him, and he asks her about Cecilia, so she reveals that Cecilia has recovered, but she's currently running errands. He wonders if it's important for girls to get gifts, so she asks him if Crayman said something to him. But he explains that he's planning to get something for Cecilia to make her happy, and Sophia tells him she would like anything he gives her as long as his heart is in it. Yoki goes to meet Raven, and mentions that he has known Happy for a long time, so he wants to know how Raven met her. He reveals that he saw her getting harassed by a group of people, so he knocked one of them down, and they realized he's from the heroes party, so they decided to retreat. She thanked him for saving her, so he told her he was just doing his job, and he became embarrassed when she heard his voice, but she told him it sounded nice. Yoki tells him she has a hard time dealing with men because of past trauma, so Raven thinks she must have gotten scared when he confessed to her, and Yoki tells him not to give up. They head to a shop, where Yoki buys a necklace for Cecilia, and he convinces Raven to buy a hairpin for Happy. Makana asks them what they're doing in the shop, so Yoki tells her they're there to buy gifts for the people they love, which makes her realize that Raven is in love with someone. He refuses to say anything to her, but she thinks it's her fault for laughing at him when they first met, and she tells them to come with her. Yoki doesn't want to go with her, but Raven tells him to give up since they can't get away, and they head to a restaurant. They immediately start to eat, so that they won't need to say anything to her, but Yoki puts down his food when she offers to tell him about Cecilia. She asks him how far they have gone, so he tells her they are dating, and notes that Cecilia has received several marriage proposals, including one from Yuga. Makana isn't surprised she turned him down, because he always gets on her nerves, and he's so popular with the ladies that it disturbs their travel. Makana asks Yoki about the girl Raven likes, but he refuses to tell her anything, so she explains that she wants to help them. Raven tells her that if she needs love advice, she can depend on Yoki, so she notes that she did something that has made Yuga angry at her. She tells Yoki that when they were at the Demon King's castle, they were defeated multiple times by his guard, so Yoki acts like he has no idea what she's talking about. She mentions that every time they lost, they were carried back to the nearest village, where they told the people they turned back to make sure they were more prepared. The village's supplies eventually started to run out, so when they were given the chance to leave Cecilia behind to advance further into the castle, she convinced everyone to take the deal. She reveals it's the reason why Yuga hates her, and she thinks Yoki must hate her as well, because she put the woman he loves in danger. But Raven notes that he was also at fault, since he didn't object to it either. Yoki asks them if they ever told Cecilia how they feel, but Makana doesn't know what to say, so Yoki wonders if she's okay with the way things are. Yoki and Raven go to meet Happy, but they run into Duke, who thinks Raven is pathetic since he's back even after Happy rejected him. He asks Raven what his intentions are, but he doesn't say anything, and Duke tells him to leave since he can't hand over his friend to a wimp. Raven notes that he doesn't know what to say to Happy, but Duke pushes him toward her and tells him to say what's in his heart. He gives Happy the gift he bought and asks her to be his friend, so she accepts his request. We see that Yoki is depressed, and we learn that he hasn't seen Cecilia for a week because all the members of the heroes party are busy. He knows they all have different jobs, so they don't get a lot of chances to talk to each other, and Sheik is bored as well. He wishes that Duke were with them, and we learn that he's also busy since he joined the Knights, but Happy arrives and tells Yoki that Cecilia will be home soon. As Yoki walks around the town, a fortune teller tells him he will have bad luck, but he refuses to believe her. He goes to a bakery, but he's surprised to see the shopkeeper's brother taking care of the store, and he ends up crushing the cupcakes Yoki bought. After that, Yoki runs into a huge man, who becomes angry after he bumps into him, and he also almost steps on poop, so he thinks he really has bad luck. A kid crashes into him and starts to cry, because he dropped his food, so Yoki buys him more to calm him down. A thief suddenly steals his money, so he runs after him and kicks him into a wall, but Yuga sees Yoki, and thinks he was the thief. Yuga starts to attack Yoki, who tries to explain the situation as he runs away, but he gets surrounded by knights. He gets thrown in jail, but Duke tells him to relax, because Raven is investigating the matter, but they're interrupted by a girl named Irene, who tells Duke to get back to training. He tells her to give him the key to the cell, because he knows that Yoki is innocent, and they set him free, but she tells him that Yuga wants to see him. Yuga apologizes to Yoki, and treats him to a feast to make up for his mistake, as he reveals that Raven scolded him because of what happened. He recalls that Yoki was with Cecilia the other day, and he wonders what their relationship is, so Yoki explains that they're friends, but Yuga asks him for advice. He wants to know how he can get on better terms with her, which confuses Yoki since they're rivals, and he tells Yuga to ask someone who has known her for longer. Raven tells him to ask Makana, but he thinks she hates Cecilia, since she chose to leave her behind. Yoki notes that it wasn't Makana who abandoned her, and Yuga wonders how he knows that since he wasn't there, so he explains that he heard the story from Makana. He notes that it was the demon who told them to leave Cecilia behind, and Yuga explains that he tried to refuse, but Makana convinced him to accept the offer. He thinks she wouldn't have done that if she didn't hate Cecilia, but Yoki notes that she was crying when she told him the story, since she feels guilty about it. Yuga still thinks it was her fault, so Yoki tells him to get real, because when Cecilia told them to go ahead, he was the one who made the final decision. He wonders if Makana told him that as well, but Yoki tells him it doesn't matter, and he notes that Yuga is the hero, so he should face up to his actions instead of blaming his friends. He mentions that Makana has always supported him since they were kids, but he didn't treat her well, and he wonders what he should do. So Yoki tells him to let her scold him, because people only scold the ones they care about. He decides to meet her, but he doesn't have the courage to do it alone, so he makes Raven and Yoki come with him. He tells them to stay outside, but as he enters Makana's house, he accidentally walks in while she's changing. He quickly apologizes and tells her to scold him, but she attacks him since she thinks he turned into a pervert. After that, Yoki heads to Cecilia's house, but he comes across the fortune teller again, and she sees that his luck has changed. He meets the girl who runs the bakery, and she gives him a bag of free cupcakes, because she knows that her brother crushed the ones he bought. After that, he runs into the child he bought food for, and his butler thanks him for taking care of his master, and he gives him a bag of food. Yoki meets up with Cecilia, but they're interrupted by Yuga, who tells her to scold him, so Makana punches him and notes that it isn't what they came for. They apologize for leaving her behind in the Demon King's castle, but she notes that she was more worried about them, because it must have been difficult to fight the Demon King without a healer. She knows that immediately after they defeated the Demon King, they rushed back to check on her, even though they were already exhausted. She tells them they did nothing wrong, but they still apologize to her. After that, Cecilia asks Yoki if he was the one who told everyone to apologize to her, so he admits that it's true, and explains that it was his fault that they weren't on good terms. He gives her the necklace he bought for her, and she promises to treasure his gift, which makes him cry tears of joy. Yoki and Sheik join Cecilia on a mission, and Sheik is excited to ride a carriage, but Yoki is annoyed since he thought he would be alone with her. She starts to get motion sick, so Sheik gives her a potion to make her feel better, and she's glad they're with her. They arrive at a village that was attacked by bandits, where they start to heal the injured villagers, and he thinks it's a miracle that no one was killed. The village head tells him it's because someone suddenly arrived and cut down the bandits, which forced them to run away. Yoki notices that Cecilia is exhausted, so he tells her to take a break, but she refuses to rest, so he puts her to sleep using his spell. When she finally wakes up, she's annoyed since he used a sleeping spell on her, so he explains that she would have passed out if she didn't rest, but she makes him promise never to do it again. He notes that they've healed everyone, so she thanks him for his help, which makes him blush. The village head joins them in the room, and he asks them to check up on a girl named Teal, because she's been sick ever since she was born. They go to visit her, and Sheik gives her a potion, which instantly makes her feel better, so she thinks it must be the guardian deity's divine blessing, but they have no idea what she's talking about. She explains that the guardian deity is a statue of a god on the outskirts of town, and notes that she avoided the bandits' attack because she took an offering to the deity and got sleepy on her way back. She reveals that when she was 7 years old, she was surrounded by a pack of wolves, but the deity struck them down, and everyone thinks it's suspicious. She takes everyone to the deity, but they realize it's actually a demon statue, and she starts to cough. So Cecilia apologizes for pushing her hard, while Yoki notes that the statue is just like the gargoyles in the Demon King's castle. The statue suddenly comes to life and attacks them, so Sheik kicks him in the head and restrains him, but Yoki stops Sheik from killing him since he wants to get answers. The gargoyle apologizes for attacking them, because he thought they were after him, but Yoki asks him how he became the village's guardian deity. He explains that he was made to guard a temple, but he was stolen by the bandits, and he was with them when they attacked the village. He struck them down to save the villagers, so they started to treat him as their guardian, but no one visits him anymore except for Teal. He explains that he doesn't plan to harm humans, so Yoki decides to leave him be, and apologizes for bothering him. After that, Yoki sends Sheik back to the village, to make sure he can be alone with Cecilia, but he starts to panic, because he has no idea what to talk about with her. She accidentally trips on a tree branch, so he quickly grabs her, which makes them blush. The bandits attack the village again, and Yoki tells Sheik to take care of them, so he starts to beat them up. Yoki joins the fight as well, and he starts to blow away the bandits, but one of them prepares to attack Cecilia from behind, so Yoki electrocutes him. They notice smoke coming from the guardian deity's shrine, so Yoki orders Sheik to check it out, while he summons a storm to wipe out the bandits. They go to the shrine, but they're shocked to see that Sheik has been defeated, and Cecilia mentions that his opponent is the hero of the Gali's kingdom named Miller. Sheik mentions that he attacked the gargoyle who was protecting Teal, but he thinks Sheik is an idiot for standing up for a gargoyle, and he prepares to eliminate him. Yoki stops him, and attacks using his lightning, but Miller's sword erases his magic. Cecilia mentions that he uses a man-made magic sword that cancels out magic, and he cuts off the gargoyle's arm, so she tells him to stop. She explains that if he hurts a citizen of their kingdom, it will lead to a war, but he doesn't care since it means he can kill anyone he wants. Yoki attacks Miller with his spells, but he easily cuts through them, and asks Yoki if that's all he can do. He continues to attack Miller, who starts to get cocky, but his sword suddenly cracks, and Yoki explains that since his sword is man-made, it has a limit to the amount of magic it can absorb. As the sword shatters, Yoki punches him in the face and sends him flying, telling him it's all over for him. He suddenly summons a magic arrow and throws it toward the gargoyle, but Teal sacrifices herself to protect him. Miller rains down arrows from above, so Yoki blocks all of them, but Miller uses the chance to get away. Yoki becomes angry and transforms into his demon form, and he catches up to Miller. He sends him flying through the forest, and Miller can't believe such a powerful demon still exists, because the Demon King is already dead. Yoki flies away with him, and Miller mentions that killing is fun, but Yoki tells him he isn't worth killing, and throws him into the lake. Yoki returns to Cecilia, who notices that his head is bleeding because he removed his horn, so she heals him, and she's glad he's back to normal. After that, Teal mentions that she wants to find a way to heal the gargoyle's wounds, and she knows that healing magic won't work on him, but she thinks they can heal him if they take him to Minerva. Cecilia knows that monsters aren't allowed to enter it, but Yoki mentions that he has an idea, and he reshapes the gargoyle with his earth magic. Teal becomes a maid in Cecilia's mansion, while Yoki asks for Aqua's permission to put the gargoyle's statue there as well, but she refuses since it looks terrible, which makes Teal cry. Cecilia and Yoki are summoned by the King Darts, who doesn't like to be too formal, so he wonders if he can just talk normally, but his guard Sylvia notes that he needs to speak with dignity. He praises Yoki and Cecilia for saving the village, and offers them a reward, but Cecilia notes that she doesn't need anything, since she just did what had to be done. Yoki tells him his wish is something Darts can't grant, because the thing he's after is Cecilia's love, which makes him laugh. After that, Cecilia scolds Yoki for declaring his love before the king, and Aqua tells him he can't see Cecilia for a month as punishment. She notes that there's no need to go that far, since he already feels bad, so Aqua lowers the punishment to half a month. Happy prepares to throw him out, but he notices Sheik sitting alone on a bench, and he knows that Sheik still feels bad, since he couldn't protect Teal and the gargoyle. Happy takes Yoki back to his room, where he names the gargoyle Gar, but Teal notes that he'll always be the guardian deity to her. After she leaves with Happy, Yoki notes that he's been banned from seeing Cecilia, and Gar tells him to do whatever he can to make up for it. He heads to the guild, where he tells Kramen to give him as much work as he can, since he wants to become a man worthy of Cecilia. Half a month passes by, and Sophia tells Cecilia that Yoki is working hard, which makes her smile. Gar transforms into his original body, but Yoki is shocked to see that his body is falling apart, and he thinks it's only a matter of time before he meets his end. He tells Yoki to take care of Teal, since she still hasn't fully recovered from her illness, but Yoki promises to save him. He tells the situation to Duke, who mentions that he can heal Gar by feeding him magicite, which surprises Yoki that the solution is so simple, but he has no idea where to find magicite. He runs into Cecilia, who takes him to see Teal, because she's gotten worse. Sheik notes that the medicines they have will only buy her a little time, and Yoki asks him if he needs anything, so he notes that he needs a herb called twilight grass. Cecilia mentions that it only grows in places of high mana, but it isn't found in Minerva, so he promises to look for it, and Cecilia decides to join him. He notes that he needs to take care of Gar as well, so Teal wonders if he's okay, but Sheik tells her she needs to rest. Cecilia mentions that the Merchant Guild might have the things they're after, but they run into Aqua, who tells them not to worry about her, because she knows they're trying to take care of Teal. They head to the Merchant Guild, but the receptionist tells them their twilight grass and magicite have run out, and Kramen tells Yoki he has a quest for him. Yoki refuses to accept it, but Kramen notes that the quest is to take care of a monster in a magicite mine, and reveals that twilight grass also grows there, so he decides to accept the quest. They head to the village near the mine along with Kramen and Sophia, and they plan to go to the mine in the morning, since the monsters are more active at night. Kramen notes that their target is a rock eater that ate magicite until it mutated, which is why it's highly resistant to attack magic. He mentions that the client told them to bring the rock eater's hide back without any damage, and explains that even though attack magic won't work on it, they can still use magic to restrain it. The next day, Yoki and Cecilia ask Sophia if she plans to fight in her maid clothes, but she reveals that it's a specially made battle attire her husband made for her, since he likes how she looks in a maid uniform. They go to face the rock eater, which immediately starts to throw rocks at them, so Yoki protects Cecilia, while Kramen uses his shikigami to destroy the rocks. Yoki hits it with a thunderbolt, but it has no effect, and Kramen reminds him to make sure its hide isn't damaged. Yoki holds it in place with his earth magic, while Cecilia wraps her chains around it, but it manages to break free. Kramen notes that he'll cover Sophia with his shikigami, and she'll enter the monster's mouth so that she can attack it from the inside. Yoki uses ice magic to restrain the monster, and Cecilia once again wraps her chains around it, while Sophia jumps into its mouth. It creates smaller clones to fight back, and Yoki's magic doesn't work on them, so he starts punching them instead. One of them manages to scratch Kramen's arm, so Yoki tells him to protect himself, but he mentions that keeping his shikigami up is his priority. The rock eater breaks free from the chains, and prepares to crush Cecilia, but it suddenly falls to the ground, and Sophia comes out of its mouth. They get the twilight grass, and Kramen tells everyone they will return the next day, because it's dangerous to drive at night. As everyone falls asleep, Yoki tries to sneak out, but he runs into Cecilia, who gives him the twilight grass because she knows he plans to fly back home. He heads to his room and feeds the magicite to Gar, which instantly heals him, and he immediately goes to see Teal. He thanks Sheik for looking after her, which makes him cry, and she's glad that Gar's arm has healed. The next day, as Cecilia and the others ride a carriage, Sophia and Kramen wonder why Yoki is exhausted, so she explains that he worked extra hard, and he gets to sleep on her lap as a reward. Yoki is bored since Cecilia is busy, and he runs into Kramen, who notes that he wants to buy a gift for Sophia, since he didn't get anything for her on their anniversary. Yoki decides to help him, so he reveals that he already bought something for her, but Yoki sees an edgy costume, and he buys it since he thinks it looks cool. He tells Kramen to give him any quest he has, so they return to the guild, where the receptionist gives him 4 A-ranked quests, but she doesn't recognize him since he's wearing a mask. Yoki defeats a dragon to complete one of the quests, and he brings its heart back, which impresses everyone. A thief named Envy uses a magic spell to knock out a couple of guards, and his gang prepares to rob the place, but Yoki suddenly arrives to stop them. Envy orders his subordinates to attack him, but Yoki summons lightning to take them down, so Envy attacks with his spell, but Yoki easily overpowers him. Raven and the other knights arrive at the scene, and one of them wonders if Yoki is the thief, but he explains that he has already taken care of them. Raven and Duke know Yoki is behind the mask, so as he runs away, Raven tells his men there's no need to chase him. Duke looks for Yoki, and tells him to come back to his senses since he looks like a weirdo, so he looks in the mirror, and realizes he looks ridiculous. He goes to collect his reward, and Kramen tells him Envy and his friends used to be B-ranked adventurers, but they went crazy when they found a magic book in a dungeon, and they said they were going to ruin Valentine's Day by stealing all the chocolate. Meanwhile, Cecilia and the others make chocolate for Valentine's Day, and Makana notices she has made a lot. She plans to give them to the orphanage and everyone who has helped her, but Makana tells her she's supposed to give them to someone special. The next day, Teal visits Yoki's room and gives the chocolate she made to Gar, but he becomes embarrassed when she starts to feed him in front of Yoki. Yoki heads to the guild, where Kramen shows everyone the chocolate box Sophia made for him, but he tells Yoki he can't have any. Yoki sees Raven and Happy in a room, and Raven notices him watching them, but he doesn't say anything and runs away. He sees a long line of girls waiting to give chocolates to Yuga, and he notices Makana, who doesn't know if she should give Yuga the chocolates she made, since she isn't a good cook. Yuga asks her to give him the chocolate, but as she takes it out, Yoki can't believe how bad it looks. Yuga eats it and finds it delicious, but the girls notice Yuga, and they rush toward him. Yoki heads to Cecilia's house, where Sheik and Aqua tell him Cecilia has gone to the town, and they give him chocolates. He notes that he only wants to get chocolates from Cecilia, but he still accepts their gifts, and Duke tells Yoki that Endy has escaped from prison. We see Endy and his friends on Golem, and they wreak havoc throughout the city, as they steal all the chocolates. Yuga tells them to stop, but they think he'll never understand how they feel, since he's popular with the ladies. Yoki and the others arrive, and he tells them to get everyone to safety, while he stays back to fight the Golem. He tells Endy and the others they shouldn't go on a rampage just because they didn't get chocolates, and they tell him he's on the same boat as them, but he notes that he got chocolate from his friend's mother. Everyone thinks he's pathetic, and the Golem attacks him, but he dodges it and defeats Endy's friends. Endy shoots fireballs at him, but he dodges them and attacks Endy with his wind spell, telling him he won't give up getting chocolates from the girl he loves until the day is over. Endy mentions that getting chocolates from someone you don't love doesn't mean anything, but Yoki notes that as long as the person's heart is in it, he will gladly accept the gift. Endy pushes Yoki back with his flames, and the Golem continues to steal the chocolates, so Raven prepares to join the fight. But Makana stops him, telling him they don't know what will happen if they destroy the Golem. Yoki burns the magic book, which makes the Golem disappear, and Endy is about to fall to the ground, so Yuga catches him. He's surprised to see that Endy is a girl, and she notes that no one ever takes chocolates from her, because she looks like a boy. But he tells her he will happily accept it from anyone as long as their heart is in it, which causes her to blush. Cecilia gives Yoki a bag of chocolates, and the others note that they got the same thing from her, but he's happy when he notices that she gave him a cake, which she didn't give to anyone else. Kramen tells Yoki they've received a quest from the Merchants Guild, because their cargo keeps getting stolen in a town called Famel, so they need someone to investigate the situation. Yoki is excited since the town is near the ocean, and he imagines going there with Cecilia, but she isn't available to take on the quest, so Happy joins him instead. Raven blushes when he sees her, but he doesn't understand why she will join them, so Yoki tells him she's good at using magic. As they arrive at Femel, Yoki goes to talk to the client, and he tells Raven and Happy to ask around. They ask a sailor for information, but he doesn't know anything, and he notes that even when guards are posted, the thefts keep happening. He mentions that the higher-ups think the sailors are involved in the situation, but he assures them that they aren't thieves, so Happy promises him to get to the bottom of the situation. He's surprised that she believes he's innocent, and he promises not to hide anything from her, telling his friends to cooperate with the investigation. As Yoki returns, Raven tells him no one remembers anything about the thefts, but the sailors said they heard a singing voice before their memories were cut off, so he thinks a mermaid might be involved. Yoki asks them if they saw a mermaid, and they're scared since they know that mermaids kill sailors, but Raven assures them he'll take care of them. After that, a man tells Raven he saw the sailors hiding the cargo in a cave, and notes that there was a mermaid in there, so they need to investigate it. Raven tells Happy to stay back, because it's dangerous to fight demons, and he tells her about the time they destroyed a village, but she refuses to stay back. They find the missing cargo in the cave, but a mermaid named Kate comes out from the ocean, and she starts to sing, so they quickly cover their ears. Happy starts to sing as well, and she cancels out Kate's voice, so she prepares to escape, but Yoki traps her with his earth magic. Raven threatens her, and she notes that she doesn't mind if she dies, but she asks for their help because humans have captured her friend. Raven refuses to believe her, but Happy protects her, while Yoki convinces him to listen to Kate. So he puts down his sword, and Happy falls to her knees, because the situation reminds her of her past. Yoki asks Kate why she tried to put them to sleep, so she explains that a human ordered her to do it, and she notes that she usually stays away from people. But one day, she and her friend Misaki were caught in a storm, and they were captured by the humans. They told her to obey them if she wants Misaki to live, but Raven thinks she's trying to deceive them, and notes that they must never trust demons. Happy grabs his hand and tells him to believe her, so he decides to start a new investigation based on what Kate said. As they look around, they realize that the cargo boxes are empty, which means the thieves leaked the information to lure them there, so that they could use Kate to put them to sleep. Yoki wonders where their hideout is, and she doesn't know the answer, but Raven thinks they will come there soon, so he plans to capture them and get information. As the thieves arrive, they act like they were worried about Raven's well-being, but he asks them if they're the thieves, and they laugh when they hear his voice. He starts to beat them up, and they know they're no match for him, so they try to escape, but Happy blows them away. After that, they rescue Misaki and bring her back to Kate, so she thanks them for their help, and Misaki offers to sing a song to show her gratitude. They're afraid of what she might do to them, but Kate assures them it won't put them to sleep, and she starts to sing with Misaki. Happy joins them, because she refuses to lose to them, and Raven apologizes to Kate, since he tried to eliminate her even though she was innocent. She suddenly kisses him on the cheeks, which makes Happy jealous, and she blows away Yoki since she wants to be alone with Raven. She walks to him and kisses him on the lips, and Yoki didn't see it, but he realizes that both of them are blushing. Teal gives Yoki a message from Cecilia, and as he leaves, she immediately hugs Gar and gives him magicite to make sure he's healthy. Yoki spends the day with Cecilia, but as he prepares to leave, he asks himself if he's okay with keeping things the way they are. He meets Duke and tells him that after he said goodbye to Cecilia, he used a skill to turn invisible and spied on her to see what she did during the day. He saw her train with Sheik, which surprised him because he didn't know she was working that hard, so he realized he didn't really know her, but Duke calls him a creep for stalking her. He notes that even though Yoki is always going on about how much he loves her, he still isn't aggressive enough, so Duke thinks he's a coward. Duke asks him if he's okay being her friend forever, and knows it's difficult to make a move when he doesn't know much about her, but Makana overhears them, so Duke tells her to take care of Yoki. Raven also joins them, and Makana tells him to speak up, because he talked the last time they were together, but he notes that it was an exception. Makana agrees to tell Yoki about Cecilia, because she owes him for the advice he gave her, and she notes that the heroes' party wouldn't exist without Cecilia. We learn that they had a problem with the girls attracted to Yuga, and Makana and Raven couldn't handle them, but Cecilia always calmed them down. She also handled most of their background activities, and Yoki thinks they should have divided the work, so Raven explains that she didn't do everything, revealing that he was their cook. Makana tells Yoki about Cecilia's responsibilities, and he's surprised that Yuga didn't do anything, but they're still happy he's their hero, since the incidents he caused always ended up helping someone. Makana is about to tell Yoki about Cecilia's nickname, but she suddenly interrupts them and takes her away. Raven takes Yoki to the orphanage where Cecilia works as a volunteer, and the kids there call Raven the cold-blooded swordsman, so he mentions it's his nickname. The children wonder where the Holy Mother is, because they want to eat the desserts she makes, and Yoki realizes they're talking about Cecilia. After they leave, Raven notes that people think he's cold-blooded, because he doesn't speak when he fights, and Yoki wonders why Cecilia doesn't like being called the Holy Mother, but Raven explains that it isn't his place to tell him. He advises Yoki to go on a quest with Cecilia, which excites him, because he thinks that when he saves her, she will fall in love with him. The next day, Yoki waits for Cecilia, but he's surprised to see Makana, who reveals that Raven told her to join them. She asks him to tell her about his plan, so he explains that their quest is to remove the undead that have turned a mansion into their den, and he will defeat all of them to impress Cecilia. She calls him an idiot, because Cecilia is a priestess, which means dealing with the undead is her specialty. She tells him they should just work with her to build trust, and she arrives with Happy, so they leave to take on the quest. They reach the mansion, and Yoki and Happy prepare to rush in, but Makana reminds them about their plan. As they enter the mansion, Cecilia uses her spell to eliminate a group of undead, while Yoki grabs several of them with his water magic, and Cecilia destroys them with her holy circle. They reach the last room, where they find the boss called the Undead King, but Cecilia notes that he isn't that strong, which disappoints Yoki. He rushes toward the Undead King and kicks off his crown, telling him he's just like the other undead without his crown, but he becomes upset and runs to get it back. Happy and the others think Yoki is despicable, and the Undead King wants to make Yoki pay for insulting him, so he takes a swing, but Yoki dodges his attack and kicks away his sword. He admits defeat, and Cecilia wonders why he's attached to his crown, so he explains that it has always been important to him, but he doesn't know why. She thinks it might be because he was a king when he was alive, so she plans to send him to the afterlife along with his crown, and Yoki is impressed by how she's handling the situation. She sends the king to the afterlife, but she's tired after she finishes her spell, and Yoki tells Makana and Happy to look around the mansion before they leave. Yoki offers his shoulder to Cecilia, but she still struggles to walk, so he carries her in his arms. She becomes embarrassed by the situation, but he tells her she doesn't need to worry, because he'll make sure no one sees them. After they return home, Yoki asks Makana how he did, but she refuses to score his performance, and just tells him to do the best he can. The next day, Cecilia tells Yoki to never call her by her nickname, because she knows he learned about it from the kids at the orphanage. He asks her why she doesn't like it, because he thinks it suits her, and he notes that the way she handled the Undead King made him remember their time in the Demon King's castle. He thinks she's like a saint, and she reveals that she has the nickname Holy Mother, because Yuga called her mom in front of everyone, when he was amazed by how she could do everything. Gar tells Yoki he wants to work, because he knows that Teal spends a lot of money buying him magicite, so he wants to stop being a freeloader. Yoki puts on the mask he wore when he first fought Envy, and they head to the Adventurers Guild to register Gar as an adventurer, but the receptionist is afraid of them, so she calls Kramen for help. He gives Gar his guild card, and Yoki notes that they will return to accept a quest, since they need to find a weapon for Gar first, telling him people will realize he's a demon if he uses dark magic. The next day, they head to the guild, where Kramen tells Yoki a girl is waiting for him behind the building, and he's shocked to see that it's Cecilia. He acts like he isn't Yoki, but she reveals that Sophia already told her about him, so he explains that he dressed up to make sure Gar doesn't look suspicious. She decides to join them, because she can't let Yoki handle something important alone, and they accept a quest to find a missing pet. The clients are afraid of Yoki, so Cecilia tells him to stay back while she gets information, and Gar watches her to learn how she does things. She gets a description of the cat, and Yoki notes that the normal procedure is to ask around, but he suddenly jumps to the roof, because he picked up the scent of the cat from the owners. He finds the cat, but it acts aggressively toward him, so he puts it to sleep, and brings it back to the owner along with its friend. Yoki notes that they should go to the next quest, but Cecilia tells him Gar won't learn anything if Yoki does everything for him, so they should let him do most of the work. They go to gather herbs, and Yoki tells Gar to pick up only the ones he needs, or there won't be any left for others. The next quest is to get rid of goblins, and Yoki thinks they'll need to support Gar, but he easily defeats all of them. As they pick up the rewards from the guild, Gar notes that he'll continue to work hard for Teal's sake, but he tells Yoki and Cecilia to let him work on his own, and promises not to cause problems. After he leaves, Yoki tells Cecilia he's about to go on an A-rank quest, so she asks to join him, which makes him nervous. He mentions that she doesn't have the gear for long travels, but she tells him to wait and quickly changes her outfit. On their way to the quest, Cecilia mentions that the quest is difficult because there's no village near the ruins. They also need to search the ruins without ransacking them, so they need to avoid combat to make sure they don't use attack magic, which is a huge challenge because of the monsters in the ruins. As they set up camp for the night, Yoki thinks about how he would usually be nervous to spend the night with her, but since he's wearing the mask, he needs to stay in character. He puts up a barrier around them and gives the vegetable he collected to Cecilia, but she tells him to take off the mask, since it's bad manners to eat with his mask on. He praises her cooking skill, and puts his mask back on after he eats everything, but he notes that they should go to sleep, because she has been doing quests all day. She starts to act like him, and tells him about how amazing she is, which freaks him out. Before she goes to sleep, she recalls how she refused a marriage proposal from the heir of a lord that Darts presented to her, because she wasn't ready to marry anyone. But Darts told her she can't refuse the proposal for such a reason, since the man is incredibly influential. The next day, Cecilia and Yoki arrive at the ruins, and she tells him she will take the front, because his attack magic will damage the place. But he tells her he has a lot of spells he hasn't shown her, and he also knows where the monsters are. As they move forward, they run into a group of monsters, so Yoki summons his illusion sphere to distract them. He tells Cecilia they need to keep moving with their eyes shut, since it makes anyone who looks at it see the thing they like the most, so she thinks it will make her see cake. They reach the end of the ruins, and Yoki is disappointed because nothing was exciting there, but Cecilia tells him to stop yelling. They return to the guild, where Cecilia hands over their report to Kramen, and he gives them their reward. Yoki mentions that they should throw a huge party, but she tells him to change first. They head to Yoki's room, but they're surprised to see Teal, who asks them to tell her where Gar is. He suddenly returns, so she rushes to hug him, and he tells her she doesn't need to work hard since he has become an adventurer, but she mentions that serving him is the greatest happiness in her life. After they leave, Yoki removes his mask, but as he sees himself in the mirror, he remembers all the things that he did, so he becomes embarrassed. He thinks about throwing away his mask, but Cecilia notes that she wants to team up with him again, so he puts it back on. Yoki notices that Raven is depressed, because he hasn't seen Happy for a long time, and Duke tells him to invite her to go out with him, but Yoki notes that they should make it a group date. Everyone prepares for their date, and Yoki realizes that Duke will go out with Irene, but he explains that she's just there to help Raven. They head to the statue of the hero's party, which Darts made to celebrate the Demon King's defeat, and Raven tells Happy not to look at his statue, but she tells him it's okay since she's proud of him. They enjoy their time together, so Duke and Yoki think their plan is going well, but the vice captain of the knights arrive with his men, and they hear Raven's voice. The vice captain notes that it's the first time they heard it, and they start to mock him, so Duke tells them to leave him alone since he's off duty. They tell him to enjoy his day off and walk away, but his friends realize he's upset, and he suddenly runs off. Yoki and Duke start to look for him, and Duke reveals that the vice captain has a faction, which doesn't accept Raven as their captain, since he can't even talk to them. They see him in an alley, and tell him to return to the others, but he doesn't seem to be interested. Yoki asks him what's wrong, so he explains that he just remembered how weak he is, and reveals that Happy told him she had a secret, but she was afraid to share it with him. He thinks he can never accept her secret since he's a wimp, and wishes he had Yoki's courage, but Yoki gives him a pep talk and tells him to believe in himself. After that, they return to the others, and Raven apologizes for running off, so Happy tells him it's okay. Everyone decides to go shopping, and Raven tells Happy he'll do his best to get stronger, so that she can entrust him with her secret. A few days later, Cecilia tells everyone that Happy has gone missing, and shows them a note she left, which mentions that they can find her in the forest after a month. Yoki and his subordinates head outside, and they see Happy, who reveals that she has decided to tell Raven about her true identity. Duke warns her that she'll lose everything if Raven doesn't accept her, and explains that it will also put them in a difficult position, but she promises not to cause trouble for them. They know it's important for her, so they tell her to go for it, and she thanks them for their support. We cut to Raven, as the vice captain asks him how he's doing, so he notes that he's okay, but wonders why the vice captain doesn't address him with respect. He notes that he won't let a knight who lacks manners serve as vice captain, and they realize he's serious, so they apologize for disrespecting him. A month later, Yoki and Cecilia talk about Happy, but as he leaves her mansion, Aqua asks her if she told him about her marriage arrangement. She notes that Cecilia's future husband has already arrived in Minerva, but Cecilia explains that she'll turn him down, and notes that she only agreed to meet him because of the king's order. She doesn't want Yoki to find out about it, so Aqua realizes she has feelings for him, but she explains that it isn't true. After that, Yoki sees Raven outside, but he throws Happy's feather to the ground, and tells Yoki to follow him. He takes him to the forest, and tells him he needs to kill him, so Yoki thinks he rejected Happy. He rushes forward, so Yoki pushes him back and uses earth magic to trap him, but he manages to break free. Yoki realizes he's stronger than before, and he charges him with his sword, but Yoki stops it with his bare hand, and transforms into his demon form. Raven remembers him, and notes that he finally knows his true identity, but Yoki kicks him away, and blasts him with his dark magic. Yoki tells him he doesn't stand a chance, but he refuses to give up, since he promised Happy he would beat Yoki up for removing her wings. He realizes she was the one who put Raven up to it, so he disarms him and tells her to come out. He sees her hiding behind a tree, so he scolds her for causing trouble for him, and wonders how Raven settled things with her. A few hours earlier, we see that Duke led Raven to a strange tree, and told him to talk to Happy. He asks her why she wanted him to come there, so she explains that the place is important to her, and tells him she's glad she met him. She shows him her true form, and explains that she was afraid he wouldn't accept her, but he hugs her, and tells her that he could never reject her since he loves her, and she tells him she feels the same way. We return to the present, as Yoki starts to lose it, since Raven and Happy got the perfect ending, but he wants to punish them for causing trouble for him. He traps them with his chains, and surrounds them with a barrier to protect them from monsters, but he leaves them in the forest. Yoki returns to Cecilia's mansion, where he tells her he'll be away from Minerva, because he needs to help Yuga with a quest. But Raven and Happy suddenly return, and tell her to hand over Yoki. She wonders if he did something to them, but he explains that they started it, and he escapes out the window. They run after him, but he sees that they're happy, so he congratulates them since they're finally a couple, and they realize they owe him for bringing them together. We see Yoki as he drags Yuga away from his fans, and they escape in a carriage, but he tells Yuga he'll never travel with him again, since he always causes trouble. Cecilia's maids help her dress up, but they realize she has a visitor. She meets Makana, who wants to ask her about healing magic, but Makana wonders why she isn't wearing her usual outfit, so she explains that she has an arranged marriage meeting. Makana is surprised to learn about it, but Cecilia explains the situation to her, and notes that she won't marry the man she's about to meet. Makana asks about him, so she reveals that he's Soliel Graceheart, a member of the Heroes Party from the Duchy of Luminaria. 3 days later, Cecilia meets Soliel, who knows she isn't interested in getting married, since she has turned down many other proposals. He tells her they can now enjoy a cup of tea since her party defeated the Demon King, so she explains that she didn't do much, but Yuga still shares the credit with her. Soliel thinks he's a true hero, and notes that not all heroes are like him, since there are those chosen only because of their strength. He explains that all nations have a heroes party, because they compete for supremacy, and she wonders why they can't just get along. He notes that he feels the same way, and explains that he wants to marry her to unite their nations, telling her it will stop the other countries from harming them. She explains that she isn't ready for it, and he understands the position she's in, so he decides to stop talking about it. He explains that he's been staying in Minerva to learn more, and notes that wars could be avoided if nations understand each other. He asks her to teach him about her country, and she agrees to do it, since she can tell that he has good intentions. Yoki and Yuga reach the mine, where the miners explain that they ran into monsters, but they can't bring themselves to kill them since they're so cute. Yuga promises to get rid of them without hurting them, but he doesn't know what to do, and Yoki can't believe he accepted the quest without a plan. As they take a break, Yuga asks for Yoki's advice about Cecilia's arranged marriage, and notes that he told her not to go through with it, but she explained that she had to follow the king's orders. He tells Yoki about Soliel, revealing that he's a master swordsman like Raven, and Yoki becomes jealous, so he tells Yuga to finish the quest alone. He suddenly runs off, as he wonders why Cecilia never told him about her arranged marriage, and he transforms into his demon form and flies away. Mikana reaches the mine, and Yuga is glad to see her there, since he doesn't think he can handle the situation alone. She asks him why he isn't with Yoki, so he explains that Yoki ran off after he learned about Cecilia's arranged marriage, and she wonders what he's up to. Cecilia shows Soliel the orphanage, and he gives the kids cookies, so they immediately take a liking to him. A girl asks him to lift her up, but he doesn't know how to do it, so Cecilia tells him to use his hands. He manages to do it, but the other kids want him to lift them as well, so he tells them to take turns. After that, Cecilia thanks Soliel for making the kids happy, and asks him if the children in Luminaria are also playful. He explains that he doesn't know, and reveals that he did nothing but train and study when he was a kid, since he's the heir of the Graceheart family. He notes that he didn't have the chance to interact with people, but he learned a lot while he was with the Heroes Party, and he mentions that he wants to protect everyone. Cecilia tells him she knows someone with great power, who always helps people in need, and she notes that she wants to be with him. She takes Soliel back to his hotel, and he thanks her for showing him around, telling her he wants to learn more about the country. That evening, Cecilia is depressed since she couldn't reject Soliel, and she blushes as she thinks about Yoki, wondering if he's still into her. Yoki flies back to Minerva, but a magic beam suddenly hits him. He crashes to the ground, and a masked man attacks him, asking him if he plans to hunt humans in the city. The man introduces himself as the Beast of Blue Flames, and he charges in with his burning fists, so Yoki takes to the sky. He explains that he doesn't have time to fight, but the man continues to attack him, and the knights panic when they see him. They wonder what a demon is doing there, and they throw their spears at him, so he's forced to fly away. We return to Cecilia, as Sophia shows her a poster, and she's surprised to see that Yoki is a wanted man. Kramen sends a messenger to Yoki, and it shows him the poster, so he realizes the authorities are looking for him. The next day, the knights learn about what happened, so Duke tells them to be on high alert. They open the gate, and as Yoki passes through it, Cecilia notices that he's injured, so she rushes to his side and heals him. But Soliel finds him suspicious, so he explains that he's just an adventurer she helped in the past. Soliel mentions that he wants to marry her, and she tries to explain everything to Yoki, but he apologizes for interrupting them. He starts to walk away, but Raven and Duke suddenly grab onto him and tell him to cooperate. We learn that the Beast of Blue Flames is actually the one that's wanted, because he's been taking all the easy quests and doing a terrible job at them. Kramen notes that the people have been complaining about him, so he tells Yoki to help capture him. He starts out by patrolling the city with Raven, so the people don't think he's the same person as the one causing all the trouble. Some of the people still confuse him for the troublemaker, but he's able to quickly help them with their problems. As they take a break, Yoki hopes they can quickly catch the beast and resolve the situation, but Raven also worries about the demon that was spotted. He realizes Yoki is the demon, so he explains he was in a panic after he heard about Cecilia's arranged marriage. He thinks Cecilia didn't tell him about it because he isn't important, and there's nothing he can do since it was arranged by the king. Raven doesn't think it's true, but Yoki decides to just focus on his quest. We see that Cecilia is actually worrying about Yoki, wondering if he still likes her, but Happy tells her not to worry, because Yoki's feelings for her will never change. She thinks she's the worst since she hurt him, but Sophia suddenly reports that the beast has appeared. We see the man as he goes after a purse snatcher, but he ends up burning the woman's purse. He prepares to deal with the thief, but Cecilia stops him, asking him why he's been causing so much trouble. He notes that he's carrying out justice and helping people, but she tells him he's just bothering everyone, and since he also has a similar disguise as Yoki, he's also ruining his reputation. Yoki appears, and he thanks Cecilia for speaking up for him, even though he isn't important, but she tells him that that's not how she thinks of him. We see that the beast is actually Soliel, and he wonders about Yoki's relationship with Cecilia, so he calls her his partner. Soliel decides he needs to defeat Yoki, so they move away from the crowd and start to fight on the roof. As they exchange blows, Yoki wonders why Soliel copied his look, so he reveals that it's what he's always wanted, and he's even determined to surpass Yoki. He thinks Yoki wears his mask to get more attention and gratitude, but he reveals that he wears it just because he thinks it looks cool, telling Soliel he needs to walk his own path. They prepare to continue their fight, but Cecilia appears and starts to scold them. Soliel explains that he just wanted people to see him, since he never got any recognition and everyone always thought he was doing what was expected of him. Cecilia tells him he should use his power for himself, because it will also benefit the people in return. Kramen interrupts and tells Yoki to capture the beast, so Soliel starts to panic. Yoki puts on an act to give Soliel the chance to get away, and he even lights fireworks as he jumps away with Cecilia. They land on a bell tower, and Cecilia starts thinking about the first time they met. She remembers how he had given up on life, but he now wants to keep on living and having fun. She tells him he's improved so many people's lives, including her own, and he thinks it's okay if she doesn't return his feelings, but he asks her out once again. She tells him to wait, since she needs to give her response to the marriage proposal first, and she tells him to meet with her the next day. We see her after she gives her answer to Soliel, and he wishes her luck with Yoki, as she finally realizes he was the beast. She meets up with Yoki, and he thinks about how comfortable it feels with her, wishing that the moment could last forever, but he knows that wishing for it isn't enough, so he once again confesses his feelings to her, and she tells him that she loves him as well. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.